Welcome to the Form Function Salon Podcast. I'm Benjamin J, and this is episode 000. So, before we get into anything, what does a 000 episode even mean? This is essentially our foundational episode. This is why we're here, how we work, and what we do, and it provides a baseline so that everybody that joins our Form and Function community going forward, they can come back to this episode and hear what it's all about, and then kind of catch up at their own pace to wherever we are in the future on our time machine that takes us into our salon successes going forward. So, why are we here, right? One of my favorite books is from a gentleman named Simon Sinek. You may have heard of him. He's blown up through social media. He's got a great book. It's one of the few books that I've actually read like in a hardcover version, actually read all the way through. It's called Start With Why. And so we're going to start with why. And there were really two concepts that I was working with when I decided I wanted to start this podcast. First is I love podcasts and I love audiobooks. And I personally connect really well with that medium in terms of a way to listen and learn, whether I'm on the go, in the office, in the salon, got a color developing, whatever the case may be. So I love the platform. But more importantly, the question that I asked myself before starting this was, do we really need another salon coach? Do we really need another salon coach? And I don't think that we do, to be honest. There are so many people within the industry trying to tell the industry how to operate, how to work, that I don't know that we need more people throwing their hats in. What I do think we need, though, is better salon coaches. And so that's where I'm trying to come from. Personally, when I look at the industry and I think about what inspires me and what drives me, I don't feel that I see what's grabbing me, right? There's a little bit of it. There's a few people that I really admire and I really connect with, but there's not enough. And so that's my goal, is to share what has worked for us in our salon, the Hair Loft here in Chicago, and give it to you in hopes that you can grow your business. Now, our sole purpose here at Form and Function is one thing, and that is to enhance people's lives by building their confidence so that they can have better, more successful lifestyles. Now, many of you that are stylists and owners and service providers, you hopefully really connect with that message, right? Because we understand that in the salon, when a guest comes in to see us, we have a huge responsibility to them, right? The way that we work with them, the way that we treat them, the results of the service, their cut, their color, it's all designed to make them feel better about themselves. It's all designed for them to feel amazing and thus have more confidence. And oftentimes in the salon, our guests are coming to see us before job interviews, before weddings, before first dates. And because of that, when they are able to get their service, go out, have more confidence, and then get that job, that's amazing. That's what we're here for. That's our purpose. And so we've been executing that in the salon for a long time, right? My parents opened Hair Loft in 1980, and we'll get into some of the history of the salon. But what I wanted to do was have the same mission, but instead of taking the industry and taking that mission and going outward with it, I wanted to take that mission and turn it inward. And what I mean by that is, for salon professionals like yourself, we can enhance your life and the lives of other professionals by building their confidence. Anything that we do in the salon always turns out better if we do it confidently, right? You start a haircut, you're not really confident about it, doesn't usually come out very well. You apply a color, you're not confident in it, you're in the back room praying to the color gods that, oh my gosh, please let this work. Doesn't normally come out its best. We open a business or we start a marketing plan, but we're not totally confident that it's going to work, or we're not really sure that we even had a plan to begin with. It doesn't come out the way that it should. And so that's what Form and Function is here for, is to build your confidence as a salon professional so that you can also experience a better, more successful lifestyle, just like that of our salon guests. So some of you may be thinking, I've heard some of this before, because I'm sure that many of you have been following me for years, right? When we first started Form and Function Education, I think it was almost maybe 7 or 8 years ago. I started touring with Paul Mitchell Schools, and so I want to give a little bit of a history to sort of fill in some of the gaps here. As I said, my parents started Hair Loft back in 1980. They started it with a group of friends that were all working together. They didn't like the place that they were at, and we've evolved over the years to fill in some of this. So if you feel like once we start talking about systems and you're thinking, God, I don't have anything like that, that's okay. You can add them as you go. But so we started in the Gold Coast area of Chicago in 1980, and I personally started working with my parents when I was 14. They invested in child labor, and the reality was that at the time, I didn't get into the salon because I loved hair or I had an interest in becoming a stylist like my mom. I didn't even actually at that point even have an interest in the business side like my dad. I just wanted to get a paycheck so that I could get a car when I got my driver's license. That was it. It was simply a job for me. Fast forward a little bit, I graduated high school, I went to college, and I was actually super excited to finally get to go to college. Not because I really was interested in the college experience per se, but I was interested in finally getting to study what I wanted to study. And so going in, I knew that I wanted to go for management and marketing, right? And so here I am, I'm walking in, I'm going up to see my guidance counselor before school starts, and he goes, "What are you interested in?" I said, "You know, I have an interest and a passion for management and marketing." And okay, great, that's fantastic. Well, I've already got you set up with English class first, and then you got chemistry. And I was just like, what? Like, before even day one of school, I was already deflated. I already knew that I was like, oh God, I don't want to do this. I just did 4 years of all of this. And so, as you might imagine, it didn't last long. I knew after the end of the first semester that I was done. So I left. I finished the full year. The whole time I was still working full time in our salon, going in, answering phones, laundry, things like that. And so I left, and I decided, you know what? If I take a year off, try and figure out what I want to do, that'll be cool. Well, 1 year turns to 2 years really quickly, turned to 3 years even faster. And somewhere along the way, I realized, you know what? If I was so interested in management and marketing, I've already got something right here, right? I could take Hair Loft, I could manage it and market it, and no one is going to be able to teach me better than the experience of doing it is going to be able to teach me. And that was a vital life lesson to learn early on in a career. And so that's what I did. I started taking some salon seminars and classes, and I found people that were really interesting. And as soon as I started to dive into the salon, let's just say salon business, I got it. It clicked. And I was like, yes, I understand everything coming together. We've got service, we've got creativity, we've got personnel, we've also got business systems, and it all melted together, and I saw my passion for it. So eventually, I did go to school. I went to the school here, Paul Mitchell School, Chicago. Fantastic experience. When I went, I was the first student that signed up. We only had 5 people in that initial class. I think now they've got somewhere around 200. So it was amazing to go when I went because it really pushed me out of my comfort zone. It made me go for every student activity, every group, because at the time there wasn't anybody else that could do it, so we had to do it. But it made me, again, get out of my comfort zone. So I had a little bit of a different perspective, though, with so much salon experience and so much just sort of, I don't want to say insight, but at least I knew of people within the industry much more than some of my peers at the time. And so I knew that when I got out of school that I wanted to get into coaching. I wanted to get into education. The reason that my parents had been able to succeed was because somebody showed them the way. And so I knew that I wanted to be able to show others the way so that they could succeed. So once I graduated, I think that it was about a year after my graduation, I applied with Paul Mitchell to be one of their national educators. And at the time, they said no. And I was like, well, that's not how this career was supposed to go. And I'm an only child. And so I'm not used to being told, no, you can't have that or you can't do that. And so I thought about it and I was like, am I going to let this company tell me that, I have to operate on their timeline, or am I just going to go and do it? And again, I sort of thought back to when I first started to get into the salon industry. Like, am I going to wait, or am I just going to learn through the experience of doing? So I just went for it. I started calling Paul Mitchell schools around the country. And within the first 5 years of me doing that, I did 100 school visits in 5 years. And it was amazing. I met so many fantastic people. I had such a great experience getting to share with literally thousands of people across the country. And it was such an inspired start to my career because I was able to see what I wanted to do. I eventually did also get that national educator job with Paul Mitchell. And I was active in the school's fundraising campaigns. And of course, we were growing Hair Loft. And so what ended up happening was there was too much going on. There's too much on my plate. And so I had to make a list of priorities. And I was like, all right, let me think about it. Well, obviously, Hair Loft is number 1. Form and Function is number 2. The charity work is number 3. Number 4 is the National Educator Group. And I said, well, this isn't a list of priorities anymore, right? Like, as we keep going, you can't say I have a list of priorities and then you've got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 things on the list. Then it's just like a to-do list. So something had to go. And so I decided, you know what? We'll still do the school visits. We'll still participate with charity and the fundraising campaigns. We still got Form and Function going on. And then we got Hair Loft. And so that was streamlined it a little bit. Well, our salon was in an amazing position a few years ago where we were able to open a second location here in Chicago. And so now we have a location. We moved our original location in 2008 from Gold Coast to River North. That location is about to celebrate its 9th anniversary. And we opened a second location in Chicago's West Loop neighborhood, so 2 of the city's most popular, booming neighborhoods. And that one just experienced its 2nd anniversary last week. So as we started to grow again, I had to recheck the priority list because as Hair Loft was starting to take more attention, that meant something had to give. And so I went back to that list, and Hair Loft is still, of course, number 1. Form and Function was number 2. And there just simply wasn't enough time in order to continue the school visits. I do actually miss going and sharing with students quite a bit. But, again, a priority list can't be multi-items deep. It's got to be focused. So that sort of brings us up to speed a little bit. And now some of you might be thinking, I know, I've been following you, I've seen that stuff, but where were you in 2017? Like, what happened? Well, I'll tell you guys. I'm as transparent as can be. So we grew our second location, and between December 2016 and April 2017, we had 3 stylists leave our team, right? We're not upset at anybody. Everybody left on pretty good terms. But 3 people left, and those 3 people were $253,000 in revenue. Now that is a scary amount to lose over the course of 4 or 5 months, right? And so, again, just going back to that priority list and what's the focus? Hair Loft and making sure that Hair Loft was thriving is number 1. I'm really happy to report that because of the hard work that our team has put in this year, because of our planning and our diligence and everything that goes into obviously running and operating a business, our team has not only made up whatever sort of loss we might have had, but we've grown through it. We're still having double-digit growth. And so, we wish those 3 people absolutely the best. We couldn't be more proud of our team. But if you guys were wondering this past year, like, how come Ben stopped doing his video series? What happened to the YouTube channel? There's your answer. That's where it went. So 2017 was really a focus on making sure that we had the infrastructure and the business to be able to coach from. One of the most frustrating pieces is when you have a mentor or when you have a business or whatever it may be, when you have something that you admire and then you get close to it, or almost like the Wizard of Oz, where you get to see behind the curtain and you realize that it's not what you thought it was going to be. It can be one of the most deflating situations. And so I had that situation happen to me years ago. And in that moment, I decided I never wanted to be that type of a coach where, I'm telling you what to do, but the reality is that inside my 4 walls, it's a dumpster fire. And so that's the truth. I want to have a solid backbone to be coaching from. And so that's where we've been for 2017. So what is Form and Function about? Like, where does the name come from? What does it stand for? The belief is, and it comes from architecture, that when designing a building, that form and function are married together. That whatever it is that you want it to do, right? Whatever the building should be doing, it has to be designed to do so. I think of a career the same way. Whatever it is that you want to accomplish in your career, whether it's being behind the chair, whether it's opening a business, whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish, whatever that function is, it has to be designed for success. There has to be a plan. You have to form the way that you are going to get there. And so that's where form and function comes from. We believe in systems, right? Oh, but systems, those all take the creativity out of the job. That's not true at all, okay? Systems are not put in place to strip you of your creativity or to tear away individuality. Systems are put in place to give us predictable outcomes. If you are a hair cutter, you have a system for how you cut hair, right? You hold it at this elevation, this over direction, this finger angle. The reason that you have that system is so that you can execute your creativity. It's so that you know that if I hold the hair like this, this is the result that I will get. Now, same thing with color. Color has systems. We've got color theory. We've got the way that color applications, the way that will fall within the hair shape, how it will affect the skin tone. All of those are examples of creative systems that allow you to execute on what it is you want to do. I believe that we have to have just as strong business systems in order to give the guest everything that it is that they want and exceed the expectations that they have for their service. And so within Form and Function, our coaching comes down to seven breakdowns. Okay? Our culture. What does it feel like to work within our business, within our salon? What does that mean? What do we stand for? What are the attributes that everybody has within the team? What is the customer experience? When a guest comes into our salon, what is that experience? From the moment they walk in the door, and that is, what do they see? What do they feel? What do they touch? What do they taste? What sort of senses can we engage with to make a lasting impression when they leave? Our branding. Now, branding is more and separate from sales. Branding is about how do we position our business, and again, sort of what do we stand for, but also what is our reputation? That's the easiest way to think about branding, is what is our reputation and what are we known for? Of course, we have education. What is our development plan for our team when we hire them, and taking them from when we hire, we'll call that 0. So how do we get them from 0 to 1, right? 1 being a stylist out on the floor taking guests, and then how do we move them through their career path from 0 to 1 to 2 to 3, or however many levels you might have in your salon. Reservations. I treat reservations on the front desk almost as a separate entity because that is more on the operational side of our business than it is on the creative side of our business. But we have to have systems for reservations because reservations is a very important part of the salon experience. It's often the first person that somebody sees when they walk in. It's also the last person that they engage with before they leave. And if it is somebody that's picking up the phone to call, or if it's somebody that is emailing into the business or messaging the business, oftentimes it's the person at reservations that is answering those calls and those emails. And so they are making a first impression before somebody has even walked in the door. Numbers is our next one. I know that for some reason within this industry, many people say I'm not a numbers person. The thing is, we're not operating with numbers doing, what is the percentage of growth? Like, we're doing basic numbers. And when I look at people when they are working with color, they know numbers, right? If I use a level 4 and I use a level 7 and I make that gives me a 5.5, and I'm doing that with 1 ounce of 10 volume, 1 ounce of 30 volumes. Now I've got 20 volume. You guys know numbers. It's just there's a little bit of anxiety when it comes to the business side of this because, again, we don't have confidence in the business side. And so the numbers exist whether we know them or not. The reason that we want to know them is because numbers can influence our behavior. If we know, hey, here's our revenue, we're not doing enough color services, then that tells us that it's time for us to talk up our color services. And then last one, I simply call structure systems. And structure systems are really sort of the backdrop to everything. They're sort of the systems that make the systems work. So even our systems have systems. But really, I would say the structure systems are the stuff that like nobody really wants to focus on, but yet are all the things that people get upset about. Like, oh, why does somebody come in late all the time? How do I talk to them about that? How do we do this? How do we talk to somebody about that? The reason that we have this is so that we can just simply go to what we call the answer book, which holds every system that we have, and we can just simply say, well, here's the answer. Here's how you do it. So we already talked about why Form Function's here, how Form Function works, but the last thing that we're going to cover on this introduction 000 episode is what is Form Function doing. And so what we're doing is we're putting out there the content, the classes, and really the things that inspire us, the things that we wish that we could take. Why are we doing it? Because we're crazy and we're passionate and we want to share. There's a great quote that I got from Steve Jobs that essentially came across: the reason that you need passion is because the sane people quit, right? It makes way more sense if you were putting out content and not getting traction, or if you're providing education but not getting signups, or if you're building your business and not getting customers. It makes way more sense to cut your losses and quit. However, if you are passionate and you have that burning desire and you have the intense emotion that you want to do whatever it is that you want to do, if you have that burning inside of you, you can't quit. It's like, it's your calling. It's what you need in order to keep going forward. And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to keep putting out things that inspire us, that we wish we had, and we hope to connect with like-minded individuals and build a community, and together we can all have a better, more successful lifestyle. So to close this out, I'd love for you guys to check out ffsaloneducation.com. You can follow us on Instagram at ffsalonedu, or you can hit up our YouTube channel at youtube.com/ffsaloneducation. But this has been the introduction, foundational episode of the Form Function Salon podcast. I'm Benjamin J. You can follow me personally on Instagram at BNJMNJY, and I will talk to you on the next episode. Thanks.